The meaning of your eye color will change your entire life. The eyes are the window to the soul. This ancient saying holds more truth than we often realize. What if your eye color wasn't just a genetic trait, but a symbol, a reflection of your inner world and soul's blueprint? Carl Jung believed that every detail of our being carries psychological and spiritual significance, including the color of our eyes. In this video, from Spiritual Wisdom, we'll explore the powerful meaning behind your eye color and how it can reveal hidden truths about your personality, energy, and life purpose. Which archetype does your gaze carry? Comment below with your eye color and what you feel it says about you. Let's uncover the wisdom together. 1. Jung's view. The eyes are not random. Carl Jung believed that nothing about your physical body is meaningless. To him, even your eye color is not random. It's a sacred symbol, quietly revealing the hidden language of your soul. Your eyes are not just windows to the soul. They are mirrors of the unconscious, portals through which spiritual wisdom speaks. When you look into someone's eyes and feel something stir deep inside you, that's not just emotion, it's energy. Archetypal resonance, the silent recognition of a soul blueprint. In Jungian psychology, archetypes are universal patterns encoded into our collective unconscious, shaping the way we think, feel, and express ourselves. These archetypes don't just live in your dreams or your personality. They are reflected in your physical form, including the color and intensity of your eyes. Blue eyes often carry the archetype of the visionary or the seeker. These are people drawn inward, always searching for a higher truth, deeply sensitive to both beauty and pain. Their gaze can feel distant yet profound, like staring into the sky and sensing something infinite. Brown eyes tend to radiate warmth, strength, and emotional depth, aligning with the archetype of the protector or the healer. Those with brown eyes often create a sense of emotional safety, rootedness, and loyalty. They are the emotional anchors in a chaotic world. Green eyes, rare and mesmerizing, embody the alchemist or enchanter. They hold dual energy, emotional intuition, blended with intellectual sharpness. These are the souls of transformation, constantly evolving and guiding others through change. Hazel eyes, ever shifting, speak to the messenger or the mediator archetype. Their energy is fluid, able to adapt and translate between the physical and the spiritual, the rational and the emotional. Jung believed that nothing speaks more clearly from the unconscious than the body itself. The color of your eyes is a code from your soul, a vibrational signature that others unconsciously respond to. That's why some people are unforgettable, not for what they say, but for how their gaze made you feel. It's not just color, it's frequency. And this frequency reveals your deepest identity. In a world obsessed with appearance, few realize that eye color isn't about beauty, it's about energy. It's about symbolic alignment between who you are inside and how your essence speaks without words. This is why eye contact can make us fall in love or tremble with vulnerability. It bypasses the intellect and enters the sacred space of the soul. Through the lens of spiritual wisdom, you begin to understand that everything about you is intentional. Your eye color was not chosen randomly. It reflects your soul contract, your emotional language, and the archetype you came here to embody. When people react to your gaze, they are reacting to the part of you that is eternal, not the part that ages. And when you begin to honor this reflection, you start to move differently. You no longer wear your identity like a costume. You carry it like a frequency. You realize that the eyes are not ornaments. They are the truth. They are legacy. They are the first message your soul ever wrote in this world. Do you believe your eyes reveal more than genetics? If so, declare it with power in the comments. My eyes carry ancient wisdom. 2. The eyes is a mirror of the soul. The eyes are not merely tools for seeing the world. They are vessels of presence, emotion, and spiritual energy. Long before science labeled them as optical organs, ancient wisdom traditions revered the eyes as sacred channels of inner truth. In the teachings of Carl Jung, every part of the body is symbolic, and none more so than the eyes. He believed the body was the outer form of the psyche, and that the soul speaks not in words, but in images, sensations, and symbols. When you look into someone's eyes, you are not just observing them, you are feeling their frequency, meeting the energy of their inner world. Jung's depth psychology reminds us that the unconscious is not hidden behind layers. It is revealed moment to moment through subtle expressions. The eyes carry this unconscious energy. They express what cannot be spoken. They carry childhood wounds, sacred dreams, repressed longings, and quiet awakenings. In moments of deep change, grief, healing, joy, or spiritual awakening, the eyes often shift. A once dull gaze begins to shine. A once hardened stare softens into compassion. These transformations aren't cosmetic, they're energetic. You can't fake light in the eyes. It either radiates from the soul, or it doesn't. Look closely at people who have been through a spiritual awakening. Their eyes rarely look the same as before. Something opens. There's a stillness, a weight, a knowing. They no longer look at the world. They look through it, beyond surface illusions. The color of your eyes, whether blue, brown, green, or hazel, is not just genetic. It holds symbolic resonance. Blue eyes often carry a cool depth, reflecting clarity, introspection, and soul memory. Brown eyes radiate warmth, groundedness, and ancient wisdom. Green eyes pulse with intuition, creativity, and subtle rebellion. Hazel eyes shift like mood rings, revealing a multifaceted identity still in motion. Each shade is not just color, it is a spiritual fingerprint. The gaze itself is a language. A steady gaze can transmit safety. A fleeting one may signal fear or emotional turbulence. Wide open eyes often belong to the curious and the innocent, half-lidded eyes to the watchful and the wise. And then there are those whose eyes seem to look into you rather than at you, the rare souls who carry the weight of unseen realms. Their stare doesn't demand attention, it commands reverence. Your eyes are messengers. They carry the truth your words are too afraid to say. They remember who you are even when you forget. They tell the story of your spiritual journey, its wounds, its resilience, its rebirth. Spiritual wisdom teaches that the eyes are where the divine whispers through the human form. When you look in the mirror, notice the shape, the light, the softness, or fire. Ask yourself, not just what you see, but what you feel. Because as your energy evolves, so do your eyes. And when your soul begins to align with its deeper truth, your gaze becomes unmistakable. It is no longer ordinary. It becomes sacred. Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt like you saw their soul? If so, share your experience in the comments below. It might resonate deeply with someone else. If not, comment. I will look deeper to begin your journey into the truth behind the gaze. 3. Archetypes live through the body. Carl Jung believed that nothing in our physical appearance is random. Every detail from our posture to the way we speak carries symbolic meaning. But one of the most overlooked aspects of this symbolism is the color of our eyes. Jung's theory of archetypes, universal energies, like the seeker, the guardian, the alchemist, suggests that these energies don't just shape how we think or behave. They can be seen in the energy we project, the way we move, and even the way our eyes hold space. Your eye color, your gaze, the depth or clarity of your stare, these are not simply biological facts. They are portals into your unconscious identity. They are reflections of the archetype living through you. Dark brown eyes might carry the steadiness of the guardian archetype, deep, grounding, protective. Blue eyes could reflect the open, curious energy of the seeker, always looking beyond the surface, reaching for truth just out of sight. Green eyes might hint at the alchemist, mysterious, transformative, alive with inner contradiction and creativity. Hazel eyes often carry the warmth and adaptability of the lover, shifting in tone just as the lover adapts to emotion and connection. But it's not just about the color itself, it's the gaze. Some people's eyes don't just look like they reach into you. That's the spiritual signature. Carl Jung once said, "The soul that can speak with its eyes can also kiss with a gaze." This isn't poetry, it's spiritual psychology. You've probably felt it. You meet someone, and before they speak, their presence tells you something. Maybe their eyes make you feel safe, or curious, or even seen in a way you're not used to. This is the archetype whispering through them. We live in a world that trains us to only look skin deep. But if you slow down, if you start paying attention to your own reflection, you'll begin to notice something sacred. Your eyes aren't just looking, they're revealing. They're mirroring a deeper energy that's been shaping your life long before you had the language to describe it. There's a woman in a crowded cafe. She wears no makeup. Her clothes are simple. She barely speaks. But the entire room feels her. People come back just to sit near her. It's not what she says. It's the way her presence wraps around them. Her eyes hold the quiet knowing of the mystic. They say, without words, "I see you, and I accept what I see." This is spiritual wisdom made visible. She doesn't perform her power. She embodies it. If you've ever been told you have wise eyes, intense eyes, or eyes that feel like home, take a moment to listen. Your body is trying to remind you of who you really are. You don't need to chase identity when your soul has already chosen one. The color of your eyes may carry more than pigment. It may carry a blueprint. And the more you align with the archetype behind your gaze, the more magnetic and spiritually awake you become. If you believe archetypes are more than just ideas, that they live through your energy and your gaze, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share which archetype you feel most connected to in the comments below. Let's awaken the symbols within us together. 4. Eye color as symbolic tone, not fortune-telling. Your eye color isn't just a genetic detail. It holds a symbolic frequency that quietly resonates with your inner world. According to spiritual wisdom and Carl Jung's teachings on the unconscious mind, nothing about your physical appearance is random. Color, especially when it comes to the eyes, is not fortune-telling. It's archetypal language. Each shade holds a psychological energy that whispers truths about the soul's nature. Your eyes don't define you, but they reflect something ancient and essential about your journey, your gifts, and the deeper patterns you're here to embody. Blue eyes are often seen as cold or distant, but beneath the surface lies the archetype of spiritual depth. Blue connects to the sky, the divine, and the unseen. People with blue eyes often carry a gentle sensitivity that invites reflection. They tend to see beyond surface appearances, drawing others into deeper emotional or spiritual spaces. Their gaze often feels like a mirror, offering others a glimpse into their own hidden truths. These individuals are naturally intuitive, carrying the inner frequency of calm, clarity, and soulful perception. Brown eyes hold the energy of the earth. Solid, grounded, and dependable, brown-eyed people often radiate warmth, protection, and care. They have a healer's energy, not always through words, but through presence. When they're in the room, others feel held. From a Jungian lens, they carry the archetype of the nurturer, the one who reminds people how to come home to themselves. Their spiritual path may revolve around balancing the instinct to care for others with the need to nourish their own roots. Green eyes speak of transformation. They are rare, and so are the people who have them. Green is the color of nature's constant renewal of springtime after winter, of growth after decay. Those with green eyes often embody emotional complexity. They can be passionate and calm, analytical and instinctive, fierce yet nurturing. They tend to carry the archetype of the alchemist, turning pain into purpose and evolving through every chapter of life. Their spiritual wisdom lies in their ability to embrace change, seeing it not as a threat, but as a sacred invitation to become more whole. Hazel eyes are a tapestry of tones, often blending green, gold, and brown. That mix reflects the inner complexity of the people who carry them. Hazel-eyed individuals are adaptable and emotionally intelligent, moving fluidly between different roles and energies. They often carry more than one archetype within them and are drawn to explore both light and shadow. From a psychological perspective, they are integration artists who seek wholeness by accepting their contradictions. Their energy is subtle but magnetic, revealing different layers depending on the space and the company. Gray eyes are the watchers. Neither fully one color nor the other. They represent neutrality, balance, and wisdom. People with gray eyes often observe more than they speak. Their strength is in reflection, in holding space without being consumed by it. They carry the energy of the sage, the one who sees without judgment and guides with calm insight. Their spiritual journey often involves learning to bring their insight into action, to move from quiet perception to embodied wisdom, influencing others with clarity and discernment. Black or extremely dark eyes are tied to mystery, power, and depth. Black is the color of the unknown, the space before creation. These individuals often carry the archetype of the guardian or the mystic. Their energy is magnetic, and others often sense their presence before they speak. Beneath their calm exterior is a well of emotion and power that is rarely shown but deeply felt. They are protectors of hidden knowledge, holders of shadow and light alike. Their spiritual path is about mastering their intensity, choosing when to reveal and when to remain still, and learning to lead not through volume, but through presence. Through the lens of spiritual wisdom, eye color becomes more than just appearance. It becomes a quiet guide, a mirror to the archetype you naturally carry, a reminder that the soul is speaking, always, even through your gaze. Has your eye color ever made you feel more connected to something deeper within? If yes, Share what it means to you in the comments so others can reflect too. If not, comment, "I'm ready to discover." Let's explore this symbolic journey together. 5. Archetypal breakdown by eye color. Blue eyes often belong to the seeker, the mystic. People with this eye color carry a deep sense of spiritual longing and introspection. Their emotional sensitivity makes them naturally attuned to subtle energies and unseen realities. But this same depth can also make them feel emotionally disconnected from others, as if their soul exists in a place few can reach. When they begin to heal and embrace their unique nature, they transform into luminous guides, calm, clear, and deeply intuitive. Their quiet presence becomes a sanctuary for others, leading them gently toward inner truth. Brown eyes reflect the strength of the guardian, the earth soul. Those with brown eyes are often emotionally grounded, nurturing, and fiercely loyal. They tend to serve as pillars of support, offering stability in times of chaos. However, this devotion to others can lead them to neglect their own emotional needs, burying pain beneath the surface. Yet when they awaken to their own sacred worth, they become powerful vessels of transformation. They don't just endure pain, they transmute it into healing energy. Their spiritual wisdom comes not from escape, but from walking through fire and choosing love anyway. Green eyes belong to the alchemist, the transformer. They carry the fusion of water and fire, emotion and passion, chaos and evolution. These individuals are intense, deeply emotional, and magnetically vibrant. Their life is marked by cycles of death and rebirth, constantly shedding old versions of themselves. But they must be careful not to become addicted to transformation for its own sake, not to confuse drama with depth. When they reach balance, they embody profound healing and the rare ability to reconcile opposites. They are proof that true spiritual awakening is not about escaping life, but becoming whole within it. Hazel eyes reveal the shapeshifter, the mirror. These souls are gifted with adaptability and emotional range. They can blend in, read energy in a room, and shift with grace between different roles. Their presence reveals truth to others, often without a word. Yet the shadow of this gift is identity loss, forgetting who they are while becoming what others need. But within this flexibility lies their greatest power. When grounded, they integrate the many facets of truth they've seen, synthesizing complexity into wisdom. Their journey is about unity, not choosing oneself, but honoring them all. Gray eyes speak of the observer, the sage. These individuals are contemplative, discerning, and quiet storm watchers. They rarely react, but always notice, reading between the lines with astonishing precision. Their strength lies in neutrality, but this can sometimes become cold detachment. True spiritual awakening for them means choosing to share what they see, not to control, but to guide. When they begin to speak with compassion and courage, their words become medicine. They remind us that silence is not emptiness, but space for clarity and truth to rise. Very dark or black eyes belong to the depth keeper, the shadow. These are ancient souls, cloaked in mystery and emotional intensity. Their gaze often unsettles, not because it judges, but because it sees too much. These individuals absorb the energies of those around them, often becoming vessels for what others refuse to feel. As a result, they are often misunderstood, romanticized, or even feared. But within this darkness lies great power. They carry the medicine of shadow and the wisdom to walk into hidden realms and return with light. When they own their depth with grace, They become catalysts for transformation, reminding us that healing is not always gentle. It is often wild, sacred, and born in silence. Each eye color tells a story, not just of biology, but of the soul's archetypal journey. They reflect how we see and are seen, how we love, feel, and awaken. Your eyes do not just reveal your mood or personality. They mirror your sacred design, your unique thread in the tapestry of spiritual awakening. If this eye color wisdom resonated with your soul, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Tap the notification bell so you never miss insights that awaken your inner truth. And in the comments, declare your path. I embrace the power within my eyes. Let's journey deeper into the soul together. 6. Beyond color. The power of the gaze. More than the color of your eyes, it's your gaze that speaks the loudest. A gaze isn't just looking, it's feeling, intention, memory, compassion, and unspoken emotion, all in one quiet glance. It's the soul trying to reach beyond words. A single look can reveal what years of conversation might never uncover. It's not about what color your eyes are, but what energy flows through them. A warm gaze can soften anger. A hollow one can echo pain. And a steady gaze? It can anchor a person's storm. Your gaze is your silent voice. Learn to use it with care. Carl Jung believed in the invisible connections that bind us. One of his most powerful ideas is projection, the tendency to see parts of ourselves in others. This isn't just a psychological trick. It's the heart of how we experience relationships. When you look into someone's eyes, your subconscious may project old wounds, hidden hopes, or unresolved fears onto their face. That's why some eyes comfort you, while others disturb you. You're not just seeing them, you're meeting parts of yourself. And that meeting, when done with awareness, is where transformation begins. The power of the gaze goes even deeper. In moments of deep eye contact, we sometimes feel exposed. That discomfort isn't weakness, it's the breakdown of the masks we wear. Jung called this the collapse of the persona. When someone truly sees you, your defenses drop, and for a split second, your soul emerges. This moment of vulnerability is sacred. It means the unconscious is rising to the surface. And when that happens, healing becomes possible. Through the eyes, we don't just look, we awaken. A young woman once shared how she avoided eye contact because of years of emotional trauma. But one afternoon, a stranger looked at her, not with judgment or desire, but with stillness and presence. She felt seen for the first time, not as broken or flawed, but as whole. That gaze didn't heal her overnight, but it opened something. That's the true magic. When your gaze carries truth and softness, you become a mirror that reflects back not pain, but potential. And when someone does that for you, it can change everything. The eyes, as Jung would say, are more than windows to the soul. They are mirrors of the unconscious. They reflect what we cannot always say, what we dare not admit, and what we are on the verge of becoming. Spiritual awakening often begins in moments like these. When your gaze is met, when your inner world is recognized, when your projections fall away and presence remains. This is why your gaze matters. Not because of its sharpness, but because of its honesty. Practice holding eye contact, not as performance, but as presence. Let your gaze say, I see you, and I see myself in you. In doing so, you don't just connect, you expand, you awaken. And that is the true power of being seen. If you believe your gaze carries the truth of your soul, comment below. My eyes speak what words cannot. Let's honor the silent power behind every glance together. 7. Gaze and projection. What we feel when we look into someone's eyes often says more about us than about them. According to Carl Jung, the eyes are not just physical features. They are emotional portals, mirrors into our unconscious. When you look into another person's gaze and feel a sudden pull, discomfort, or warmth, it's rarely just about the other person. That reaction is a message from within you. It's your own hidden longings, wounds, or shadow aspects being stirred into awareness. Jung believed that our perception of others is colored by projection, the process where we unconsciously assign our own unprocessed emotions, archetypes, or fears onto the people we encounter. This is especially true in the way we respond to someone's eyes. A cold, detached gaze may ignite anxiety, not because the person is unkind, but because it mirrors a part of ourselves that feels abandoned or emotionally frozen. Likewise, soulful, kind eyes may move us deeply because they reflect the gentleness we crave, the softness we rarely allow ourselves to express. This is where spiritual wisdom invites us to pause and observe not just others, but our own reactions. Every powerful eye contact is a call to self-reflection. It reveals what lies beneath our surface identity, beneath the masks we wear. In those moments, your soul speaks through the body, asking you to see what has remained unseen. You are not merely interacting with another human being. You are being confronted with the energy of your own past, your inner child, your unmet needs, your buried desires. In everyday life, this shows up in subtle yet undeniable ways. Maybe you meet someone and instantly feel a magnetic connection, or maybe someone's stare unsettles you for reasons you can't explain. That feeling is not random. It's a resonance between your unconscious and theirs. It may trigger a memory, activate an archetype, or awaken a part of you that's been long forgotten. Jung would say, you are not just meeting a person. You are meeting a mirror of your own soul. When you begin to view these moments with awareness, you unlock a deeper level of spiritual awakening. You stop being reactive and start being reflective. You begin to ask, what is this person's gaze awakening in me? What needs attention, healing, or integration? And in asking those questions, you begin the real work, not of analyzing others, but of knowing yourself. Every eye becomes a gateway. Every glance an initiation into the parts of you that are waiting to be reclaimed. Your spiritual wisdom deepens as you recognize that energy never lies. Eyes transmit more than words ever could. They reveal pain that has no language, love that cannot be spoken, truth that has never been named. When someone looks at you and you feel something shift within you, that is not ordinary. It is sacred. It is your unconscious reaching toward wholeness. If this message has stirred something deep within you, leave a comment of reflection. I see myself in others, and I choose to heal what I project. Let this be your first step toward greater self-awareness. 8. Eyes and spiritual tradition. Eye contact has always been sacred, far more than a simple gesture. Across ancient cultures and spiritual traditions, it was revered as a portal into the soul, a silent ritual that transcended words. In ceremonies, initiations, and healing practices, to look into another's eyes was to witness their truth. The gaze wasn't just physical, it was energetic, emotional, and profoundly spiritual. It stripped away illusions, pierced through facades, and laid bare the essence of a person's being. In that moment of mutual vulnerability, something divine happened. The ego dissolved, and what remained was soul meeting soul. Silent eye contact has the power to unravel the identities we cling to. You've probably noticed it how difficult it is to maintain a steady gaze with someone without fidgeting, laughing, or looking away. That's not because eye contact is awkward. It's because it's intimate. It bypasses the social masks we wear and reveals the raw, unfiltered truth we often try to hide. In spiritual practice, this moment becomes a gateway to spiritual awakening, a direct experience of presence, connection, and inner stillness. The eyes become the bridge between human limitation and divine recognition. Practices like mirror gazing deepen this experience. When you sit in front of a mirror and stare into your own eyes without looking away, something strange begins to happen. At first, you may see your flaws, your age, your insecurities. But over time, those judgments begin to dissolve. A quiet stillness emerges. The face softens. And then, beyond the surface, you begin to see something ancient, a spark that's always been there. The soul looks back at you. That moment, when your mind stops and your spirit steps forward, is a spiritual threshold. It is the beginning of self-acceptance, healing, and awakening to who you truly are beneath the noise of the world. Even in the world of modern therapy, this sacred power is recognized. Eye movement, desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, a technique used to treat trauma, utilizes visual focus to help release suppressed memories and emotional blockages. While it may be explained scientifically, the process is deeply spiritual. Through the eyes, people recover fragments of themselves, reclaim forgotten strength, and step into wholeness. This is why, in a world overflowing with words, distraction, and surface-level interactions, eye contact remains one of the most transformative spiritual tools. When used with intention, it becomes a silent prayer, a meditation, a mirror, and a mirrorless truth. Your eyes are not just tools for seeing, they are instruments for knowing. They are channels of presence. And when you allow yourself to truly see and be seen, you step into your own sacred power. This is not just a connection. It is communion. It is spiritual wisdom made visible. If you believe eye contact holds sacred power, subscribe for more spiritual insights that reveal the hidden wisdom in everyday experiences. Let's awaken together. 9. The true transformation from seeing to witnessing. The moment we stop merely looking and start truly witnessing, everything changes. Healing does not begin with what our eyes see, but with what stands behind our gaze. The intention, the awareness, the energy. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." This is the essence of spiritual awakening. We begin to realize that it's not the world that must shift, but the way we perceive it. And perception, when rooted in trauma, is distorted. We may believe we're responding to reality, but in truth, we're reacting to the past unprocessed emotions, unmet needs, forgotten wounds. When we look at life through the lens of old pain, we don't see what's in front of us. We see a projection. A partner's silence might feel like abandonment because we're seeing through the eyes of a child left alone. A friend's success may stir resentment if we're looking through the eyes of our unhealed self-worth. But when we begin the journey of integration, when we choose to feel, to reflect, to sit with discomfort instead of running from it, our inner vision transforms. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong path of becoming whole by embracing every part of the psyche, including those we once rejected. We do not become someone new. We return to who we were before the world told us we were broken. This inner transformation is not abstract, it's deeply practical. In the middle of modern life, it might look like a woman named Alina, who has spent years repeating a pattern of feeling invisible in her relationships. Every time she looked at her partner, her gaze was heavy with unmet childhood needs. But after working on herself, she one day looked into his eyes and didn't see a savior or a villain. She simply saw another soul, flawed, real, present. That shift didn't come from him. It came from her. Her gaze changed, and so her life did too. The act of witnessing is sacred. It requires stillness. It demands honesty. And it opens a doorway to something deeper than sight. It invites presence. When we witness ourselves in full, our darkness and our light, we become capable of witnessing others with compassion instead of expectation. This is spiritual wisdom in action. Not just theories, but transformation. The energy behind your eyes begins to speak for you. Without a word, others can feel whether you see them through clarity or through fear. Your gaze, when conscious, becomes a healing force. When unconscious, it becomes a weapon of distortion. This is why self-awareness is not a luxury. It is a necessity. The outer world mirrors your inner state. As Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. You hold the power to change not just what you see, but how you see. That is the essence of awakening, not waiting for others to change, but choosing to view the world from a new center within yourself. To affirm your devotion to inner wholeness, declare your commitment. Comment below, I choose to witness with clarity, to honor your healing journey, and inspire others to shift from just seeing to truly understanding. Remember, your eye color is not just a genetic trait. It's a silent reflection of your soul's energy, your inner archetype, and the path you were meant to walk. Carl Jung taught us that nothing about us is random. So take a moment to look in the mirror, not just to see, but to recognize the deeper truth of who you are. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more powerful insights like this. Make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of awakening. Your journey inward has only just begun. Carl Jung's warning about empaths, it's darker than you think. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. At Spiritual Wisdom, we believe that awakening begins with awareness. And for empaths, that awareness often feels like both a gift and a burden. In this video, we'll explore Carl Jung's deeper and more unsettling warning about the empathic path truths that are rarely spoken but urgently needed. These insights aren't just theory. They're a mirror to help you navigate your emotions, protect your energy, and grow into your highest self. As you watch, ask yourself, how has your empathy shaped your relationships and your identity? Share your reflections in the comments, and let's awaken together. 1. Empathy is an archetypal, not just emotional, gift. True empaths are not just emotionally sensitive individuals. They are psychic conduits through which unseen forces pass. While modern culture paints empathy as a gentle gift, Carl Jung's deeper insight reveals something far more complex. The empath does not simply feel with others. Instead, they absorb emotional energy like a sponge, often unknowingly channeling the unresolved pain of others, the tension of the collective, and even the echoes of ancestral trauma. This isn't sentimentality. This is soul work. Empathy, in its truest form, is archetypal. It belongs not to the ego, but to the realm of the unconscious. Jung understood that empaths are intimately connected to powerful, universal patterns that stretch far beyond personal experience. They are tapped into the undercurrent of humanity's unspoken sorrow. And this is why their burden is so heavy. They may feel grief without cause, carry anxiety that doesn't originate from their own life, or wake with dread that belongs to the emotional atmosphere of society itself. This capacity to feel deeply and widely isn't always a blessing. Empaths often suffer because they don't know where their emotions end and another's begin. They walk through the world absorbing the invisible, a fight between light and shadow that most people don't even realize is happening. This is not a gift for the faint of heart, and it is rarely acknowledged for the spiritual weight it carries. Without awareness, the empath may drown in what they carry. But with spiritual wisdom, they learn to navigate the tides. What's most dangerous is that the world doesn't often recognize the true empath. Instead of seeing a sacred mirror, society labels them as too emotional, too sensitive, or too dramatic. In truth, the empath is reflecting what others can't bear to see in themselves. Their energy exposes repression. Their presence stirs buried pain. And that's why many people unconsciously reject them, not because of who they are, but because of what they awaken. Spiritual wisdom teaches that energy must be discerned, not just felt. And this is the empath's task, to learn what is theirs to carry and what is not. This requires deep boundaries, not walls, but intelligent filters that allow clarity to pass and distortion to be blocked. Without this skill, the empath becomes a dumping ground for the collective shadow. But when mastered, their sensitivity becomes a superpower, not for attention, not for approval, but for alchemy. The empath is not here to be comfortable. They are here to transform pain into presence, emotion into awareness, darkness into light. That's the deeper role Jung pointed to, not the romanticized empath, but the archetypal vessel. And if one does not understand this role, they risk being consumed by it. But when understood through the lens of spiritual wisdom, empathy becomes something else entirely. Not a burden, but a sacred path. Have you ever felt emotions that didn't seem to belong to you, like you were carrying the weight of something ancient or collective? If so, share your experience in the comments below so others can feel seen too. And if you're just starting to explore your empathic gift, type, "I'm open to understanding," so we can walk this path of spiritual discovery together. 2. Unconscious empathy leads to possession and self-loss. When empaths operate unconsciously, they don't just feel others' emotions, they become entangled in them. Without clear boundaries, they absorb emotional pain like a sponge, often mistaking it for their own. They carry the weight of unresolved trauma, shadows, and psychic debris that do not belong to them. This isn't simply compassion, it's energetic possession. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." For the unaware empath, this fate takes the form of emotional confusion, chronic fatigue, and the gradual erasure of self. Their identity begins to blur. Their center becomes unstable, and they live in a state of constant emotional flooding, like a mirror that reflects every wound but forgets its own face. This merging of energies is dangerous because it pulls the empath into other people's inner chaos, leaving them haunted by emotions that aren't theirs. These inner disturbances often surface in dreams, mirrors that twist their reflection, caves that trap them in darkness, and ghost-like figures symbolizing energies that need release. These are not just poetic images. They are the language of the unconscious trying to speak. They reveal a life lived for others, a self that has been eclipsed. The empath becomes a silent witness to pain, yet internally cries out for boundaries that were never taught. And so the spiritual burden deepens. True spiritual awakening begins not with more feeling, but with more awareness. It is not about absorbing more, but about learning what to let go. The empath must awaken to the fact that their ability to feel is not a curse, but neither is it a blank check to carry everyone's suffering. They must stop confusing love with self-sacrifice and instead embody discernment, the wisdom to know what is theirs to hold and what is theirs to release. This awakening demands inner work, grounding, energetic boundaries, and the courage to confront patterns of over-responsibility. It is only when the empath reclaims their energy that healing begins. Spiritual awakening is the process of returning to the self, not the role, not the mask, not the emotional caretaker, but the soul behind it all. The empath must learn to stand still in their own truth, without flinching, without shrinking, without merging. As Rumi said, "Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure." For the awakened empath, that cure comes when they finally stop rescuing others at the cost of abandoning themselves. They don't stop loving, but they stop leaking. They don't stop caring, but they stop collapsing. They become clear vessels of light rather than foggy mirrors of everyone else's sorrow. And in that clarity, they don't just survive, they rise. If this message resonated with you, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. 3. Childhood trauma and ancestral pain shape the empath's identity. Many empaths don't become sensitive because they were born that way. They become empaths because they had to. In chaotic or emotionally unstable homes, they learned early on that tuning into others was a matter of safety, not choice. This wasn't a gift at first, it was survival. A child who has to monitor their parents' every mood to avoid punishment or rejection will grow up to become an adult who scans every room for danger, even if it's emotional. What looks like intuition is often the refined skill of reading people developed under pressure, under fear, under silence. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." For empaths, this couldn't be more true. Many are driven by unconscious wounds from the past, shaped by experiences they couldn't control. Worse still, it's not just personal trauma they carry, it's ancestral. The grief and unresolved pain of previous generations get passed down quietly through behaviors, emotional suppression, and spiritual disconnection. Empaths are often the ones in the family system who feel it all, who absorb what others deny. But without healing, that gift becomes a weight. They feel everything, but understand very little of where it comes from. And the result is exhaustion, confusion, and self-neglect. Take the example of a woman named Sarah. As a child, she lived in a home where her father was kind one moment and emotionally cold the next. To survive, she learned to become hyper-aware. She could sense when to speak, when to disappear, and when to comfort others at the expense of herself. That gift earned her praise later in life. People loved her empathy, her warmth, her ability to get them. But what they didn't see was the cost. Behind that emotional radar was a little girl who had never learned how to turn it off. Like many empaths, Sarah was living in reaction to her past, not in connection with her present. Carl Jung called this pattern the archetype of the wounded healer, those who seek to mend others while avoiding their own pain. Many empaths unconsciously fall into this pattern. They don't just help others out of compassion, they do it out of compulsion, believing that by fixing the outside world, they'll feel better inside. But this is a trap, because empathy without boundaries is not love, it's self-abandonment. And when empathy becomes a reflex, not a choice, it drains you. You give and give until there's nothing left, and then you wonder why you feel invisible. The truth is, healing begins when you stop making your empathy a job and start making it a choice. You don't owe the world your exhaustion. You owe yourself restoration. You don't need to carry the pain of every person you meet to prove your worth. Your sensitivity is sacred, but it was never meant to be used as a shield or a burden. It was meant to guide you, not enslave you. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom teaches us that the shadow we don't face becomes the life we unconsciously live. If your empathy was shaped in trauma, then reclaim it through awareness. Turn it from a reaction into a sacred practice. Learn to feel without losing yourself. This isn't about feeling less. It's about feeling wisely. Do you feel this truth in your bones? If you do, declare it boldly in the comments. I am healing generations through my empathy. 4. The shadow side of empathy must be confronted. Empathy can be a quiet disguise for the ego. Beneath the surface of care, there often lies a deep, unspoken need to be seen as important, to be irreplaceable, to be the one others cannot do without. This craving to help can become less about love and more about control. And what appears as compassion can be a silent strategy to escape our own wounds. Carl Jung understood this paradox deeply, that even our most admired traits have a shadow side. When we give endlessly, we may tell ourselves it's because we care, but sometimes we give because we're afraid to look within. Overhelping becomes a pattern. It looks like love, but it's laced with fear. It's the fear of not mattering unless we're needed. It's the avoidance of our own inner pain by fixing everyone else's. And when this happens, empathy no longer serves healing. It serves ego survival. We become emotionally entangled, mistaking sacrifice for virtue and self-erasure for devotion. In truth, we are often trying to soothe ourselves by saving someone else. This kind of empathy is exhausting. It drains the soul because it's not rooted in wholeness, but in fragmentation. We overextend. We absorb pain that's not ours to carry. We merge so deeply with others' suffering that we forget who we are. And the deeper tragedy is that in trying to be everything for everyone, we slowly disappear. What we call compassion becomes a mask we wear to avoid facing our own unmet needs. Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom urges us to step back, not to stop caring, but to care consciously. The true empath does not rescue to avoid loneliness. They do not absorb to feel worthy. They do not give endlessly just to be loved. Instead, they learn to hold space without losing themselves. They recognize when their helping is actually hiding. They set energetic boundaries not out of coldness, but out of clarity. Empathy without boundaries becomes codependency. Compassion without awareness becomes emotional manipulation. This is the dark side that must be acknowledged. It is only when we confront these truths that our empathy transforms into power, not the power to fix others, but the power to remain rooted in our own center while still offering love. Jung teaches that everything we do, even the good, must be examined through the lens of self-awareness. Because healing isn't about giving all of ourselves away. It's about becoming whole within, so that what we offer is clean, free, and conscious. The real spiritual wisdom is this: empathy is not just about feeling what others feel. It's about knowing when the feeling isn't yours to hold. If you're ready to confront the shadow side of your empathy and reclaim your true self, comment below. I choose truth over illusion. Let's walk this path of self-awareness together. 5. The true empathy requires boundaries and inner strength. True empathy is not about becoming a sponge for other people's emotions. It's not about soaking in pain until you can't tell where their suffering ends and yours begins. That is emotional fusion, not compassion. Real empathy is witnessing without merging. It's the art of holding space for another soul while remaining anchored in your own. It's saying, I feel you, but I am not you. And that one sentence marks the beginning of a spiritual awakening. Because to awaken is not simply to feel more, it is to see more clearly, to recognize where your energy ends and someone else's begins. Without that clarity, empaths are not gifted. They are exhausted, drained, dissolved into the chaos of the world around them. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." That includes the part of you that wants to help, heal, and hold everyone, but also the part that must say no. Boundaries are not selfish. They are sacred. They are spiritual muscles, forged through discernment and self-trust. A sponge absorbs everything indiscriminately, but a sovereign vessel chooses what it allows in. An empath who is awakened is no longer a victim of energy. They are a guardian of it. Sensitivity is not a weakness. It is a raw perception. But when untrained, it becomes suffering. You can't save others by losing yourself. Empathy, without grounding, becomes self-erasure. But empathy with inner strength becomes a force of healing. You don't need to become harder. You need to become clearer. Clear about your limits. Clear about your role. Clear that your purpose is not to carry everyone, but to hold truth when others have forgotten it. This is the path from sponge to sovereign. The journey from drowning in emotion to becoming a vessel of divine clarity. It is spiritual wisdom in action, the awakening of selfhood, not the denial of it. The more you know yourself, the less likely you are to confuse someone else's chaos for your responsibility. The world doesn't need more people who feel everything. It needs more people who feel deeply and still remain rooted. That is true empathy. That is spiritual awakening. Don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on transforming empathy from emotional overload into grounded strength and sacred boundaries. 6. Conscious empathy is alchemical and transformative. When an empath awakens, something profound happens. They stop being overwhelmed by the emotions of others and begin transmuting that pain into wisdom. No longer a passive vessel for suffering, the conscious empath becomes a living mirror, not of wounds, but of possibility. They begin to reflect strength, insight, and clarity instead of absorbing confusion and emotional weight. This is the alchemical power of conscious empathy, the kind Carl Jung hinted at when he said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." Instead of rescuing others and losing themselves in the process, awakened empaths learn to hold space. They guide through presence, not control. They love without attachment, without draining their spirit. Their empathy no longer burns them out. It lights the way for others. Jung understood that the unconscious drives most human behavior. And so, when a conscious empath reflects someone's truth back to them, they disrupt the patterns that keep that person asleep. Their presence alone can awaken hidden potential because they've done the work to awaken their own. This kind of empathy requires deep inner strength. It is not soft and fragile. It is sharp, clear, and rooted. It's the kind of empathy that sees through projection, through manipulation, through performance. A conscious empath can feel everything and still remain centered. They've learned that not every emotion they sense belongs to them, and not every soul in pain is theirs to heal. Take Jenna, for example. A nurse and a natural empath, she spent years absorbing the pain of her patients. Every night she came home drained, thinking that this exhaustion was simply part of being a good person. But after stumbling upon Carl Jung's writings and beginning to explore the unconscious roots of her behavior, she realized that her empathy had become martyrdom. She began to build boundaries not as walls to shut others out, but as sacred containers to preserve her energy. She stopped identifying with pain and started channeling it into presence. Today, she still feels deeply, but she no longer drowns. She reflects strength because she has claimed her own. Empathy without consciousness is chaos. But empathy fused with self-awareness becomes spiritual clarity. It transforms reactive emotion into intentional connection. It stops being about taking on the burdens of others and starts being about illuminating the truth within them. This is what Carl Jung meant when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." True empathy is not sacrifice, it's transmutation. And when you learn to feel everything without losing yourself, when you choose presence over performance, you don't just heal, you become the healer. You don't carry the weight of the world, you carry the light that helps others see their own. If this message resonated with your soul, leave a comment of intention. I choose conscious empathy. I transmute pain into light. And don't forget to subscribe for more spiritual wisdom on walking the path with clarity, strength, and love. 7. The journey requires individuation and daily self-awareness. The empath's path is not merely about feeling deeply. It's about becoming radically self-aware. Carl Jung didn't romanticize empathy. He saw it as a profound psychic function that, if left unchecked, could lead to distortion, projection, and exhaustion. The true journey of the empath is individuation, the lifelong work of becoming whole through conscious self-reflection, shadow integration, and inner alignment. To walk this path is to commit to a daily discipline of asking, "Is this mine?" A question that seems simple, but holds immense spiritual weight. Because without asking it, the empath risks carrying burdens that never belonged to them in the first place. This question creates a pause, a sacred moment where the empath chooses sovereignty over absorption. In that moment, spiritual wisdom begins to take root. Empathy becomes conscious rather than compulsive. You no longer feel everything as yours, but rather you learn to feel with clarity and boundaries. And that is not coldness. That is a sacred responsibility. Jung warned that when we avoid the work of individuation, we inevitably project our unhealed parts onto others. Empaths, by their very nature, become mirrors for that projection, absorbing unresolved pain, guilt, or shame that others unconsciously disown. The result? Emotional overload, spiritual fatigue, and a slow erosion of the self. That's why individuation is not optional. It is essential. It's not about detaching from the world, but about anchoring more deeply into your truth. Emotional honesty becomes your compass, not just in relationships, but within your own inner world. You stop abandoning yourself for the comfort of others. You stop mistaking spiritual martyrdom for compassion. You begin to see that being an empath is not about being everything for everyone. It's about becoming whole for yourself. And the more whole you become, the more grounded your empathy becomes. It transforms from reaction to presence, from chaos to clarity. Your intuition sharpens. Your energy stabilizes. You become a calm center in a world full of noise. That's the gift of spiritual wisdom. It doesn't numb your sensitivity. It hones it. It teaches you that your light isn't meant to be a lifeline for everyone drowning. It's meant to be a beacon, showing others what self-possession and integrity look like. The empath, who walks the path of individuation, no longer asks, "How do I help everyone?" but rather, "How do I stay true to myself in every interaction?" That shift changes everything. It is not selfishness, it is sacred alignment. Because when you honor your own energy, you stop leaking it into people, places, and problems that are not yours to heal. You begin to trust that your presence, your truth, your clarity, without overextension, is enough. And that is when you move from surviving empathy to embodying it with grace, power, and peace. If this message resonates with your soul, leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. Comment below. I commit to my daily journey of self-awareness and soul alignment. And so, remember, being an empath is not just about feeling deeply. It's about carrying unseen burdens, navigating invisible forces, and walking a path that few understand. Carl Jung's warning reminds us that the gift of sensitivity is also a responsibility, a spiritual calling to face what others deny. If this message spoke to your soul, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with those who need to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Turn on notifications so you never miss another insight that could transform your inner world. Your journey is sacred. Let's walk it together.